Okay, we're sitting here in the Nameless Pass because I was peeking on Twitter and Thomas Mahler teased that they had made some changes to the Nameless Pass within patch 1. So I'm just curious. Now, most importantly, he said, we'll be expanding various areas still and be adding more content soon. I'm someone who complained about the lack of content. Full disclosure, that's me. And so that's good news. That's good news. I think once you've played through the story 3 times, and all you have is the Serum Crucible, like the campaign is so good. It really is so good. I would prefer to just be able to grind the campaign rather than play the Crucible, and so this is really good news. So the first thing we're going to do is investigate some of the changes to the Nameless Pass, see if we can find anything. Oh, this has changed. Oh, weird. Oh. Okay, so they changed this whole thing into a crane. This was not a crane before. Okay, so we've discovered one thing. Was this entrance new? Is that possible? Did they just add a whole entrance that I didn't even notice on my third play or fourth? This character is my fourth playthrough. It's possible. Now this seems different too, right? Now that I ponder it, because there's okay. Okay, so a couple things different here. Well, let's go die a couple times. Yeah, so I was only able to discover 2, possibly 3 things that were noticeably different, and I will say this caveat: in my first 2, even 3 playthroughs, I'm not being particularly thorough. I'm mostly rushing through it, trying to level my character as fast as I can, not particularly looking for all of the secrets and side areas. So I think 2 of the areas that I discovered I hadn't explored before, but I don't necessarily think they were new content. It's just areas that I didn't happen across because, I mean, if I can skip the crane zone, I will skip the crane zone. And I skipped the crane zone in almost all my playthroughs except for my very first one, because the second time I went to go do the cranes, they were broken, and so then I learned to skip all the cranes, and then I've never had to do the cranes again because they still haven't patched the skip for that zone. And so I've never spent much time exploring that zone until now, when I'm purposely looking for things that may be new content or new areas. So I really didn't discover any new content. Yes, they've changed a couple of the paths, and maybe even they have an additional path that they didn't have before, but I'm not precisely sure what Thomas was talking about when he said adding new content to these zones. Maybe I'm misunderstanding him. Maybe this is something that he's intending in the future, but either way, I wasn't able to discover anything particularly new and interesting in the Nameless Pass. But I'm sure other people are going to be more thorough than me and find them. And if I see them in the future, then I'll definitely share them. Anyways, I will mention just a bit about this playthrough because this is my first time fighting the Riven Twins with my 2-hand character, which is a build I didn't do because basically, if any of you were watching other streamers, both in early access and early access, primarily all of them were playing 2-hand weapons. It was just kind of comical. I was far more interested in testing wizards and archers, and so this is my 4th character to finally go ahead and try 2-handers, and I found it one of the most difficult playthroughs. It's just so difficult. Yes, you're doing incredible amounts of damage, but you need to consider it through the lens of DPS, damage per second, because you're basically waiting entire cycles just to get one attack in, and then you're falling back, just rolling, waiting, and then yeah, okay, he does his 4 attacks, you get 1 more attack, and then you run away, and you do nothing, he does another couple moves, and you're like, fine, I get 1 more attack. Whereas with a ranged character, you're just able to both do those melee attacks, build the focus, and then when you're far away, you're able to spend your focus to get additional damage. And so, I mean, comparable to a bow character, comparable to a mage, the DPS on two-handers, from my experience, is just unbelievably slow. And that could be partly due to the fact that I'm wearing 2 armor rings, because I felt like I just needed so much more damage reduction just because I'm in the face of my opponents constantly. And so I'm significantly more tanky than any of my other characters, which certainly slows down the amount of damage. I mean, but survivability is so important when your attack speed is that slow. I mean, it's just how I sort of managed. But I mean, if you're playing with a bunch of agility rings, maybe it's going to be significantly better, and that's something probably I will test, and just go for less survivability, right? Because if you're faster, if you attack faster, if you move faster, the game is just significantly easier, in my opinion. That's why I love fast characters. This guy's medium, just because I felt when you're stacking armor, you need a certain amount of armor to make the armor rings valuable. And I imagine if you're playing heavy and you're playing armor rings, then you could just face tank the majority of his attacks. And I think that is also an interesting way, and maybe that's just the way to play two-handers, is you play slow and you just like face tank everything and just sit there popping them down with his two-hander. Yeah, I basically used the unique sword I dropped from the first zone up until this last boss, where I dropped a two-hander axe that had better damage unupgraded. So that's a big upgrade. But yeah, you can enjoy the rest of this fight. It's about to end. Let me know if there are other things that I missed in the Nameless Pass. Yeah, I look forward to the new content Thomas has promised, and that gets me excited. I don't know how long that's going to take, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but yeah, I couldn't imagine having another zone or two, or having a different endgame system that we can grind. I know multiplayer was kind of the first big promise. That's not something I'm particularly concerned about, just because I don't see multiplayer Crucible being particularly interesting. And aside from Crucible, like, multiplayer bossing could be fun, but level 11? No, I think we did a level 12. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm Archaic. I'll see you in the next video.